Today I'm gonna show you what you can see in Rome, the Eternal City. Some of the most impressive tourist attractions in the world can be found here. And some really strange ones as well. Rome was founded in 753 BC by King Romulus, and that's how the city got its name. Or at least that's what a popular myth says. Romulus and Remus were twin boys who were abandoned at birth and were taken care of by a she-wolf. As adults, they decided to found a new city, but they started to bicker and argue about where it should be built. It ended with Romulus killing Remus and building Rome where he wanted. This is supposedly a representation of Rome's future political strife and bloodshed. Another myth says that the Trojan prince Aeneas came here after the Trojan War, and that his son founded a city close to where Rome is today. Romulus and Remus are said to be descendants of Aeneas, or possibly the god Mars, or possibly Hercules. Basically, they tried to ensure that the founding of Rome could be traced back to ancient Greek stories. However, in reality, there have been archaeological findings that show that people have lived here for 14,000 years. The actual founding of Rome is veiled in mystery, but it's still an ancient and impressive city. When you go to Rome, there are a few things that you simply must see. The Colosseum is one of those. This is one of the most visited tourist attractions in the world, and rightfully so. It was built between 70 to 80 AD, and during its height of popularity, it could take an audience of 80,000 people. Countless battles and gladiatorial fights have been held at the Colosseum, all to appease the bloodthirsty crowd that flocked there. The Colosseum is 2,000 years old, and it survived earthquakes as well as robbers taking stone as building material. It may not be as impressive as it was 2,000 years ago, but it's still an absolutely amazing sight to see, and it's well deserving to be a new wonder of the world. The Pantheon used to be an old temple, and is one of the best preserved ancient Roman buildings. It was built in the 2nd century AD, and the name is Greek and means of all gods. They believed that it was named the Pantheon because of all the statues of gods that were placed inside the temple. And it's also speculated that the shape of the temple was made to resemble the dome of the heavens. The Vatican, or the Vatican City, or actually the Vatican City-State, is the capital of the Holy See. If this sounds a little bit convoluted, that's because it is. The Vatican City-State was established in 1929 with the Lateran Treaty, but the Holy See, that's the jurisdiction of the Pope. The Pope has jurisdiction over the Vatican City, but also universal jurisdiction over the Catholic Church. So when you talk about the Holy See, that's more than just the area known as the Vatican, but it's also a country, which is the location of the Vatican. The name Holy See has nothing to do with water and nothing to do with sight. The name comes from the Latin word sedes, which means seat. There are some amazing things to see in the Vatican, St. Peter's Basilica for example, or the Sistine Chapel. And there's a lot of other Vatican museums to see as well. However, the lines to get in can be quite ridiculous. If you have the patience to stand in line for hours waiting to get in, good for you. But personally, I prefer to spend my time on other things. After that slightly disappointing visit to the Vatican, let's talk a bit more about the disappointments of Rome. People talk about the Fontana di Trevi, the Trevi Fountain, as a must-see in Rome. It was made famous in films like La Dolce Vita, and it is a marvelous piece of Baroque design. But it's almost impossible to get a good view of it because of all the tourists constantly surrounding it. It's a famous fountain, but the overall experience is quite disappointing. Another thing popping up in many top lists of Rome is the Spanish Steps, and I don't really know why. It's a very nice staircase, but that's it. It's a set of stairs. I'd say that there are quite a few more interesting things to see in Rome. Such as going to a McDonald's. No, really, there's something interesting to see here. Inside this McDonald's at the Roma Termini station, there's a part of the Servian Wall that was built in the 4th century BC. You can see parts of this wall in many places in Rome, but I think this is the most interesting location to check it out. At the Basilica of Saint Mary in Cosmedin, you can find something slightly unnerving. This lovely medieval church houses a marble mask called the Mouth of Truth. It's said that this mask will bite off the hand of any liar who puts his or her hand into its mouth. I'm a really awesome person and really funny as well. See, it must be true. Torre Argentina is the ancient site where Julius Caesar was murdered in 44 BC. Back then, there were 23 angry senators stabbing Caesar at this place. These days, it's a cat sanctuary where hundreds of cats gather to sunbathe and be admired by tourists. I'm not saying that cats are but isn't it a bit strange that they flock to a historic place of conspiracy and murder? Circus Maximus. In Roman times, this was the place for majestic chariot races. These days, it looks more like a rubbish heap. There's a lot of people on the street selling things at exorbitant prices. Water bottles for €2, for example. The thing is, when it's 35 degrees outside and 1 mile to the closest store, then those €2 start to sound like a really good deal. You can find an actual pyramid in Rome, the Pyramid of Cestius. People believe that the pyramid was built around 12 to 18 BC, and just like the pyramids in Egypt, it was built to be a tomb. And just like the pyramids in Egypt, robbers have long since plundered this tomb as well. It's much more pointed than the pyramids in Egypt, and people speculate that that could have been because the Romans had better building techniques. It could also be that they had faulty information about how the pyramids in Egypt actually looked. For a long time, it was rumored that this is the tomb of Remus, the brother of Rome's founder, Romulus. They don't know all that much about the actual person who's buried at the tomb, but the rumor about it being Remus is complete rubbish. Speaking of tombs, this is the mausoleum of Augustus. Augustus, also known as Octavian, was heir to Julius Caesar and the first Roman emperor in 27 BC. His tomb has stood there for 2,000 years, even though it's been raided by Visigoths and used as a concert hall in the 19th century. And apparently it's closed right now, maybe being renovated. And that's a little bit like Rome itself. The city has seen enormous changes since its founding in 753 BC, but it still remains ancient and eternal. I hope you enjoyed this quick look at the city of Rome. Like and subscribe, but most importantly, have a great day.